How's it going, everyone? Anime Gamer back with another live stream tonight. Another topic. Yeah, so this is what won the vote. If you're new to the channel and you like the content I create, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all that good fun stuff. Turn the bell little thing on so that you don't miss a video, all that fun stuff, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about something in this live stream that is going to be pretty interesting, I think. Give me 1 second, I'm trying to send a message here. Anyway, yep, so yeah, anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about this, kind of break it down. Yeah, sorry, I had to send this message on Discord. So yeah, anyway, what we're gonna talk about tonight is how your good and bad experiences shape your life. I figured I would kind of talk about this because we've kind of been sort of talking about some similar stuff like this and kind of touched face a little bit on this subject as well. So I figured why not do a video dedicated to it. And you know, your good and bad experiences, you know, it will shape your life. And if somebody tells you that it doesn't, or that, you know, just pretend that it didn't happen if it was bad or negative, you know, then they're crazy. They're absolutely crazy, right? So we're gonna kind of talk about some good things that could possibly happen. You know, we're gonna talk like a few things about like bad that could happen. So, anyway, dang, Kefla is kicking my ass. So, if a person has bad or good experiences in their life, you know, this will shape how they will more than likely respond to other people out and about, or just even people in their life even. Whether that be good or bad, right? And the sad thing is like, you know, if somebody's like, oh, well, that's negative, or you know, they won't necessarily try to care or even try to help you most of the time. I mean, if you do have someone like that, then I'm proud of you. I'm glad. But, so, let's say, now this is for men or women, this topic is. So, let's say that, you know, you got a woman and a man, right? You know, whichever one's watching the video. So say, you know, the woman is, you know, when she grew up, you know, she was able to get, boys to like her when she was really young, right? And let's say, you know, for the man, he was able, the boy, he was able to get women to like him, and you know, they pretty much, you know, let's just say they had everything handed to them, right? Because there's a lot of cases like this. So here's the thing. Now, somebody who's had everything handed to them like that, They will never understand these videos that I make. They will never understand any of these types of experiences that maybe somebody that's watching this video is going through or has been through. They will not understand mine. They will not understand yours. And it's crazy because the thing is like if you haven't been through something, like it's almost as if they're not able to really understand it because like I don't know, it's weird. Really, to be honest with you, I think they just kind of make excuses, to be honest. But anyway, so say these people had everything handed to them, right? So say that the person who is having a bad experience in life, let's say they have like hardcore depression. This person who has had everything handed to them, right? And who, let's say, you know, they've been able to get someone to like them, they've been able to get friends, and then while the person who is suffering from depression, they haven't, right? They haven't been able to, you know, the depressed woman has not been able to find friends or find a boyfriend, let alone a husband, right? Or, you know, the depressed dude has not been able to find a girlfriend or friends or, you know, none of that. And, you know, these people who have just had, you know, these so-called good experiences, you know, I'm not saying they've never had anything bad happen to them, but what I'm saying is if they've had more good experiences than bad, more than likely they will probably be able to respond to the situation a lot better depending on the situation. Say maybe they lost their job, they can respond to that better than maybe someone who's poor and, you know, maybe needs their job obviously to make ends meet and stuff, you know. And, you know, say you're telling this person about, you know, oh, well, I can't seem to find friends, or I can't find a spouse, or oh, I got fired from my job, and, you know, like I can't find another one that suits me, or, like, you know, they will honestly, no joke, but they won't even be able to understand it because, like, these types of people, they're kiss-assing their boss at work to start that off. And not only that, but, you know, if they're going around, obviously, you know, if they've gotten a lot of people to talk to, more than likely they are definitely into gossip probably. You know, so they're not going to understand where you're coming from. There's nothing you can do to make them understand because they have not experienced that themselves. They've not dealt with it. And if they have dealt with, you know, if they did deal with it, then their situation, you know, they'd be acting a different way, so to say. And so let's say that, like a person who's had a bad experience, like let's just say they've had bad experiences all their life, right? Here's the thing, a person who's just had these so-called good experiences, as they call it, you know, maybe they've got it good financial-wise. I mean, that really doesn't matter really in the end. I mean, I guess it helps, but, you know, with certain things you have to do on Earth, but, you know, if you struggled to like make ends meet or pay bills, you've struggled to find people to chat with or a spouse, whatever you have it, right? You know, these people, like I said, they will not understand you. They will be extremely dismissive toward your problems. That they will be extremely dismissive, and that they will just tell you to suck it up, get over it, stuff like that, which makes the problem even worse. So another thing too is like, you know, if you have dealt with, you know, mostly bad experiences, believe it or not, there's actually a positive like thing to this. It's terrible, you know, how we're going through all this bad stuff, but like there is a few things I do want to go over that, you know, you will if you've been through all these bad experiences, you will notice, like, the first thing you'll notice is, like, you know, you'll be fostering resilience, right? And not to top it all off, you know, you'll have a deeper sense of self as well, you know, and new perspectives on life, new perspectives on pretty much almost everything you come in contact with, right? And, you know, that's a good aspect of it, I would say. But the thing is, you know, the negative side to it is this is going to lead to a lot of mental health struggles, like depression, anxiety, PTSD, OCD. You know, you may feel like ending it one day, right? And you know, when you, I think I messed that up there. When you know, when you're feeling that way, it's really hard to deal with things, but you know, it does make you stronger in the end. And that's why I always say, like, these people in churches, right? You know, they don't accept people like, you know, they're always talking about people that are like less, less fortunate as them. Like, say they may be on like food stamps or Social Security disability, maybe unemployment, or maybe they just work like a small job at like a fast food joint, right? Like McDonald's or something. Well, the thing is, these people are always talked bad about in the church. They're always talked bad about. Like, and if you say they're not, then you're a liar, because the churches, they do not accept people like that. They'll say they do, but here's the thing. True acceptance in the church is the pastor would be speaking to you on a same level as he would a person who's got money, status, or whatever, right? You know, they would speak to you in the same manner as everyone else, right? But here's the thing, they don't do this. Like, they do not do this. I've seen this happen way too many times in my life, throughout my life. It's ridiculous, right? So that's going to be a bad experience. You know, you may even be church hurt over this, like if you've dealt with that, but like, this video is not about church hurt. So anyway, that's going to be a bad experience, you know, and you know, you're going to feel like you're just going through it alone. And you know, guess what? You very well might. You know, you very well might be going through it alone. Because I'm not going to be one of those people that say, oh, well, you have somebody when I don't even know you. Because for all I know, you may not really have anybody, right? Yeah, like another thing too is like you'll notice your mental health struggles are just, I mean, off the charts. Like it's extreme, like depression, extreme anxiety, right? But here's the thing. If you've had a lot of bad experiences within your life, there's kind of a level to of the emotions you'll feel. You may feel bitter some days, but here's the thing though. Like I said, you will have increased resilience and strength. And oh man, not this guy. Yeah, you'll have increased resilience and strength, and you know, I'm not talking about like physical strength. I'm talking about like, you know, strength to kind of get through similar things or certain things. There's always going to be something that'll probably best you, to be honest, but you know, going through difficult times builds resilience, and this is something that the people who have had everything handed to them, this is something they lack. They do not have it. And that is a big problem, because as a human being, you need resilience, right? So, you know, it's like, here's the thing, back to going what I was saying. These people are rejected in the church, right? And, you know, they're rejected in society. Okay, well, as far as the church people goes, a lot of them have had a lot of stuff handed to them, right? And if they say they don't, more than likely they're not telling you the truth. Because their parents probably helped them out for a longest time, and, you know, when they got on their own and all that, and then, you know, and then there's some that don't, but the ones that do, though, tend to be the ones who are the worst at this. But, like, you know, let them lose the status, right? Let them lose the income, let them lose the fancy house that they so love so much. Let them lose the fancy cars that they continue to keep buying over and over and over, and continue to trade them in to just buy another brand new car just because they're sick of their old one. Let them all lose that, and I guarantee you, most of them, their faith it'll go to zero. Because the reason I say that is because they have not had to endure hard kind of times or troubles like, you know, the people that they seem to despise, like people who are on food stamps or Social Security or unemployment, or who's working that McDonald's job that don't really pay much, right? You know, they haven't had to do the grind, the struggle, you know, none of that. They haven't had to do that. And a lot of them, you know, especially men, you know, these types of men, the only way that they're able to get a woman is because of their money and status to begin with. Because if they did not have that, that woman would not be with them. I guarantee you it. I guarantee you it. Like, I've seen this in real life. I've seen how these people act to one another, and you know, it's you can't unsee it when you've seen it. And I've seen this just happen way too many times, you know, that I've seen. And another thing too is, if these people really did go through this stuff, they would be more empathetic, right? Because that brings me to my next point. Bad experiences increased empathy and a different worldview. And, you know, because the reason why is because, say someone who has depression, I mean extremely bad, like life-crippling depression, right? And they meet another person who's got life-crippling depression, they are going to relate to them. They are going to feel sorry for them. They're going to feel empathetic towards them because they have been, it might not be the same reasons, but they are going through the same mental health struggle. They are going through the same struggle as the other person that they are, you know, talking to. and they are going to have an increased, increased empathy and sympathy for this type of person. And it's just, it's crazy how that works, right? It's really crazy. But the thing is like, that's just the way that it works. And, people who haven't really been through that stuff, they're not going to feel an ounce of empathy. Like, they simply just do not care. They really don't. And, like, I had a person who was like of middle class status today. Like, they told me the most ridiculous notion I've ever heard. And, we got to talking about like a topic about like the government shutdown and like, it's affecting a lot of things. Like, apparently it's going to affect like people's food stamps in like certain states or something, or maybe every state, I don't know. We was talking about it, and then afterwards she goes, something that you don't see though is like, middle class are really struggling. It may not seem like it may not look like it, but they are. And the weird thing was, she said, I know I am. But here's the thing. I know for certain she's lying, because she traded in her new car and got a smart car with like all this high-tech gear in it and stuff. And it's like, if you're struggling, you're not going to be able to afford a brand new car yet again just because you got tired of your old one. Like, that's, no. These people, I'll tell you what they're doing. They're spending money they do not have. They are also maxing out credit cards, doing all this kind of crap. Because they know they'll never have to pay it back, right? Now, I'm not saying all of them are maxing out credit cards, but I'll tell you this, they all are spending money that they do not have. And it's like, they are always spending money on BS, like cars, stuff to do with status, and it's like, these are some of the most unempathetic people in the world. And no matter what you do, you honestly cannot, you can't even beat it in their head at this point. That they will never understand. And that brings me to my next point. So if you have dealt with bad experiences, just constant, non-stop, like I mentioned in my previous video about how reality will prove you wrong, another thing is like, you will have a greater self-awareness. So negative events, it'll start to lead to introspection, right? And, it'll force, these individuals to reevaluate their lives, completely. Beliefs, values, maybe like a breakup, right? Say like a breakup, for example, like, could lead to a deep reevaluation, of yourself, maybe your life goals, stuff of that nature. And, it's like, another thing too is like, hang on, I'm trying to make somebody on Discord. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'll get to your comment in a minute, Rosa. But yeah, it's crazy because, like, you trying to get these people to understand, and it's like, no matter what you do, they simply do not understand. They just don't. On fire, I appreciate that. But another thing too is like, these people, another thing that's had people that's had bad experience, they will experience extreme personal growth. Like, these people here are the ones that's growing the most. So, and I'm going to tell you why that is. I'm going to explain something to you. tell me one time in the Bible that God went to a person who just had everything good happen to them and bam, just sit there and change their life, and then, you know, all this stuff, right? You know, like they become empathetic, all this stuff. And it's like, I cannot think of one instance in the Bible that this happens. But I can tell you what I can tell you. Everybody that God has picked, whether it's from Peter to Apostle Paul to Daniel to Abraham, all these people have had constant bad experiences throughout their entire life. I mean, completely. Yeah, they've had good experiences too, but like mostly it's bad. Like they've had a lot of bad stuff happen. They've seen a lot of death, you know, a lot of war, you know, all this kind of, a lot of famine, being hungry, you know, or a lot of other stuff, right? And these people, they came back stronger than ever, you know, through Christ. They came back stronger, you know, and that's the thing. Like Peter, you know, he, you know, was like, you know, in going to go to the sea, and like, he was like, you know, Jesus was like, go to the sea, right? And then Peter was like, well, there ain't nothing out there, you know, because Peter has had bad experiences with fishing, right? He's had extreme bad experiences with it, you know, he's struggling to catch fish, right? And Jesus is like, well, no, just go out there. Give me some time, right? So he goes out there and bam, you know, just fish just start flocking to this dude after Jesus puts his hand in the water, right? So, you know, that's a good experience, you know. So God is giving this person that has had constant bad experiences a good experience for a change. And it completely changes their life as they know it. Like, it completely does it. Like, if you don't believe me, like, look at all the main people in the Bible, and you will notice that most of them, it's the same method. It's the same thing. You know, Job, he was wealthy, right? So I'm going to use this as an example. He's had a lot of good experiences. He hadn't had a lot of bad experiences, right? So here's the thing, though. Satan was like, oh, well, I guess, you know, I bet I can make him break and all this other stuff, right? So he does just that, right? So he goes and does his best to break him, right? And this dude loses his children. He loses his livestock. Like, he literally loses everything he owns, like, completely, right? And, you know, even his own wife tells him, you know, you might as well just curse God and die at this point, because, you know, it really just can't get any worse for you, right? You know, but here's the thing. He had the faith, right? He was one of the 1% of individuals who fully trusted in God, even though he lost everything, correct? And there's very few people like this in today's world. And you may say that's judging, but just look around. You know, you can tell by the way they act. If they had all of that taken from them, it would be a different story. And sure, there's probably some people, I would say, that are probably like Job, who would, you know, still have the faith and whatnot, who just had everything handed to them and stuff, right? So, and, you know, and when Job kept the faith, you know, and he endured that, he was presented a multitude of good experiences in his life. The rest of his life was good, like completely. It was good, right? You know, like he had enough bad for his entire life, right? So, you know, like there'll be a lot of personal growth when you go through these bad experiences, right? You'll be more self-aware. You'll see how society and the way the world works. Like, you know, a lot of people just simply do not care. You know, like, you know, it's sad. Most people don't care. It is the way that it seems. And, you know, another, like, you know, it's just, you know, if you don't believe me, go and read the whole Bible yourself. Like, you know, there's bunches of people, you know, even people in history, right? You know, even people in history, like, who've dealt with, you know, bad experiences and became, you know, they're doing better off, you know, because they're more aware. And then there's people who's had good experiences, and it's just like, you know, they're unempathetic, you know. And then people who've also had good experiences, there's people like that who's, you know, something came upon them and then they endured it, and it's like, you know, they become more empathetic, right? And it's like, you know, that's kind of a rare thing to see, because a lot of people, they don't seem to go through personal growth, like, you know, like in the sense of like a person who, say, like a person who's had a lot of good experiences, right? They're not going to go through the same personal growth as a person who's just had constant negative experiences, bad experiences throughout their life. Like, and I'm going to even go as far as to say this. When this person who's had bad experiences, right? When they have completely, say they've overcome their experiences, right? Let's just say they do, and then something good comes upon them, you know, and it's like, I mean, it's really good, right? And that's not saying they're never going to have bad experiences again, but what I'm saying is their life is a lot better than what it was, you know, prior to this, right? And you know, they're going to sit here and they're going to not only, you know, reevaluate themselves, but they are going to have so much personal growth that they are going to be, they will have more personal growth than the person who has had all these good experiences, maybe stuff handed down to them, you know, just people who just had everything handed to them, right? Like these people are going to be, they're going to outgrow them, right? Like, you know, I'm trying to be as blunt about this as possible, because this is kind of a really serious topic. Another thing too is, like, you know, these potential negative effects, like the mental health challenges, you know, bad experiences, you know, especially if they start in childhood, you know, they can lead to lasting, lifelong mental health problems. You know, maybe emotional regulation difficulties, you know, higher likelihood of poor mental health, you know, when you become an adult, depression, anxiety, you know, like, and maybe even worse than that, you know. And another thing is, these people, they will have extreme trust issues, right? I mean, extreme trust issues. Like, I'm kind of speaking from personal experience on some of this stuff. Well, actually, a lot of this stuff, but it's like, you know, you will have like so much like trauma from, you know, these negative experiences. You know, it could be abuse or betrayal. You know, it can make it difficult, you know, obviously to trust others, and, you know, impact it can maybe even destroy future relationships, y'all. Like, To be honest, you know, I plan on doing a video about, I seen a guy do this, and I thought it would be a very good idea. A guy I watched does, he talks about like his past relationship experiences, and all of this stuff that I'm talking about actually kind of does correlate with a relationship I had back in the past. And you know, especially with the betrayal, because, you know, sure, you know, you don't love them anymore, but it's like, you know, the pain is still there. The pain is never ending. Like, it'll affect your friendships. You know, if you get married, it'll affect your marriage. It can affect family relationships. Like, it's, you know, it's no joke, right? And another thing too is, like, you know, you will be feeling behind others. You'll feel behind. And you know, a lot of these people who have gone through these significant traumas, you know, they feel like they're behind others in life, right? That you know, like everybody's ahead. You know, like, especially, you know, when they've seen people, you know, who don't have the, you know, they've not faced the same struggles, right? Because, you know, it really does seem that way, because, you know, they're completely non-caring. These people who have not been through this stuff, they do not care, you know. And if they do care, if you do have someone who does, then that's a blessing. But here's the thing, though, like, a lot of these personal things that they'll tell you to do, it's all BS. It's stuff that don't work. And therapists are really bad about this, at least, you know, from all I've seen and read online. And it's like, you know, it's crazy too, because, you know, a bad experience too can humble you as well. You know, a good experience can't necessarily humble you, because you're receiving, or whatever it is got going on, right? You're not able to you're not able to grow because you're getting everything, right? But like, yeah, you know, it'll affect you. You know, you will have, like, if you've had a lot of bad experiences, you will have extreme self-esteem issues. You know, these people who have had all this good stuff happen to them, you know, who's just all about this toxic positivity nonsense. You know, like, they don't have this problem, and like, they will never understand. They'll just say some kind of crap that, you know, is just going to make the situation worse, probably. And it's just like, yeah, I don't recommend talking to people who just do not understand you. Like, if they don't understand, you know, your experience, then just don't talk to them. Sounds like being spoiled won't help a person grow. No, it definitely doesn't. You know, see, here's the thing though, man. If you're spoiled, how the hell can you grow? Like, seriously, you know, you're literally getting everything you freaking want, like, regardless of what it is. So how in the hell are you supposed to grow when you're just receiving everything on a silver platter? Like, how exactly does that work? Because there's no room for growth. That's the thing. There is no room for it. Like, you simply just will not grow. And, you know, it's like, I don't understand people like this, but yeah, man, like, it's wild. But, you know, another thing is like going back to, like, you know, these people. It's like, you know, you're sitting here talking about, you know, oh, well, you know, the middle class are struggling, you know, saying like all this stuff, you know, and I mean, yeah, sure, there probably is some middle class that are struggling. I mean, probably. But here's the thing, though. It kind of is their fault, because, you know, if they wasn't joy spending all the time, then they would not have this issue. So another thing, like, you know, they you know, if they're sitting here saying, oh, well, they've got it bad, dude, there's poor people who can't even afford a $2,000 car. They can't even afford a car that cheap that they would consider a lemon. You know, or they can't afford a bus pass, or, you know, whatever it is of means of transportation. Like, you know, it's like, you know, so it's like when you say that, you know, you're being very dismissive as well, and kind of unempathetic, because there's people who can't even afford that stuff. Like, you know, there's people in third world countries that can't even freaking eat. You know, there's people in third world countries that don't even have clean water. Like, and you know, it's just, I don't know, man. Like, it's, you know, there's people starving in places like Africa. Like, you know, and it's just, why not spend some of this money on helping them get food? Like, seriously. I mean, like, you know, why not? I mean, you know, they're human beings too. You know, and if you got the funds, you know, donate to them. Like, seriously, you know, if you have the funds, do it. You know, like, you know, you're putting food like into a human being's mouth. Like, I mean, or you're helping them get clean water to drink. I mean, that's like one of the best things you can do for someone who does not have clean water or food to eat, right? But it's like, you know, like say those people, right? So I don't know if y'all have ever watched any videos of people in Africa, but dude, look, them people, there are a lot of people that die over there, yes, but I'll tell you what, they are fighters over there, man. Like they know their situation is grim. They know that their situation is bad, but they still continue to fight the fight. They still, because the thing is they have dealt with a lot of personal growth, you know, because they have had constant bad experience after another, and you know, it's just, that's just how it goes. And, you know, these people, they're never even going to try to understand. Like, people don't even try to understand. That's another thing. Like, it would be better if they would just even at least try to understand, but it's like, no, they don't even do that. But yeah, like, you know, another thing too is like, say you've been cheated on, right? You know, so say you're a man that's been cheated on or a woman that's been cheated on, right? You know, if you've had a lot of bad experience in your life, that right there is going to stay with you. That right there is going to make you scared to open up and trust someone, because you're going to be thinking, oh, they're just going to go out with another person, you know, behind my back, and you know, they're going to do all this stuff, right? You know, you're going to be in constant fear or worry about that, and not only that, but like you're also going to feel like, you know, oh, you're just going to be abandoned, or you know, something like that, right? And that's a tough way to be, but you know, it can offer some personal growth though. You know, so because if a person, you know, has been cheated on, you know, obviously they're going to be dealing with extreme, you know, issues, trust issues, self-image issues, all this kind of stuff, right? But yeah, probably one of my next videos will be about like the whole, like I will talk about a bad experience that's personally happened to me. I'll talk about like some of the good things it's brought me, and then I will talk about a lot of the bad things it's brought. So so yeah, anyway, and like, you know, you gotta try to keep the faith, you know, you gotta keep the faith in these bad times, like for real, like it's, you know, that's gonna get better, you know, it can be harder than said than done, you know, but, yeah, yeah, that's going to end this video here. I'm not going to ramble on too much about this. I'll probably do a part 2 to this, honestly, another time. So, yeah, like... Well, actually, I'm going to throw in one more thing. So, another thing, too, is like, you know, say like, you know, say you've been on the street, right? Say a homeless person, right? That's been on the street, you know, say, you know, because obviously they're having bad experiences day after freaking day. And, you know, it's like, you know, that's like walking up to them and saying, oh, well, you know, you're never going to have a home. You know, like, you know, it's very unempathetic. Like, people are even unempathetic to homeless people nowadays. And, I mean, now there are people who pretend to be homeless to like do drugs and crap, but I mean, I get that sometimes it can be hard to pinpoint that. But there's ways around it, right? There's ways around that. Yeah. So I'm gonna end this one here. Hope this was a pretty fun topic. Tomorrow we'll probably do the experience video I was talking about, and then probably, you know, after tomorrow during the week, we're probably just gonna do game stream and chat, and like trying some products. Also gonna be doing some other game streams as well. So probably will not talk about another serious topic probably till the week after this one coming up. That way I can, you know, kind of balance it out, instead of just talking about this serious stuff like all the freaking time. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna end this video here. And you know, whether you have bad or good experiences, it will shape you. It will be a part of your life. You can't, especially if it's bad experiences, you cannot pretend that it didn't happen, right? You would be lying to yourself. Like I said, you know, I'll say it again, like I said in the video, you know, the other day, you know, about reality proving you wrong. You know, you cannot keep lying to yourself, you know, when you have been met with a multitude of bad experiences and pretended to be in this optimistic mindset. You know, like you just can't do it. Like it's not in reality. Like reality will prove you wrong. You know, I said that in my video, and you know, I got that from somebody, you know, that I watched, and I had to make it just an entire video on just that one sentence. Yeah, it was like, you know, I wanted to add some stuff like as well, and yeah, so yeah, we're going to end this one here, yeah, that pretty much sums this video up, I guess, right now, and hope you all enjoyed the video. If you're new, make sure you like, subscribe, click the bell notification so that you do not miss a video, and make sure you comment, all that good stuff. And yeah, anyway, I will see you all next time, and peace. God bless you all.